Hello and welcome to another episode of T3 podcast series, Bolder Voices, Better Insights, where we engage with the industry leaders to decode trends, challenges, and innovations shaping the tourism business. I am Navneet Mendiratta, and today we have with us a very special guest, someone who has been at the forefront of the events, experiential marketing, and tourism industries. He's a visionary, an entrepreneur, and the co-founder of one of India's most influential event management companies, Wizcraft International. His company has been instrumental in putting India on the global events map, orchestrating some of the country's most iconic productions, including the IFA Awards. Please join me in welcoming Sabbas Joseph.
Hi,
Hi,
Navneet.
Sabbas.
Happy to be on this show and program being created by you and your team. Happy to be here.
Okay, we begin with first things first. Sabbas, you've seen the event industry transform over the last few decades, being one of the first ones to, initiate this entire revolution, the entire, change in the events development. So from corporate to events to mega concerts and global awards shows, how has the industry evolved and where do you see it heading?
When we started in 1988, we were the first ever event management company in our country. The concept of event management did not exist. So what it has been as a journey is a story by itself. Probably multiple books and multiple series can be done. That's not you won't find short of enthralling, captivating, and I just can't stop. I can't put the book down, those kind of stories right through. For us, when we started out with a very simple thought. I can't even say dream, because it wasn't really a dream. We said A to Z in entertainment. From a magician to a juggler to a rock show. That was the dream at that point, 1988. And in about a month's time, we had finalized that we were doing one of, I would say at that time, it was the biggest rock show ever done. 8 bands flew down from across the country in a beat competition called the Conga Beat Contest. Okay? And suddenly that rock show tick mark as magician to a juggler to a rock show, it's already been done. So where do you go from there? So the entire event industry is one filled with dreams, filled with aspirations, filled with targets that keep changing and keep growing and ever evolving. And really, I think I won't just say it for ourselves. I'd say this for the entire industry, people who came and worked alongside us, people who came and competed with us, people who followed in our footsteps. I'd say everyone pushed the barometer, pushed the bar. Everyone pushed the limits for all of us to grow together. So today, you look at the events industry, imagine 1988 was nothing, it was zero. Today, it's influencing the economy in billions. Be it in weddings, be it in events, be it in corporate events, MICE, tourism, sports, concerts, corporate events, product launches, activations, employment, the impact on tourism, the impact on skill development, entertainment, all of it. I mean, where do you start, where do you finish? And it's still going on. So, and it will keep going on because it's ever evolving and it is going to keep growing at a alarming pace for many others. But it's going to become one of the big economic drivers, one of the big employers in terms of industry, and it's going to continue to create entrepreneurs. And that's the great story about the event management industry. It's creation of entrepreneurs, the support for entrepreneurship, and the willingness for people to collaborate with new entrants and new incumbents and anyone who looks at this industry. Somehow or the other, be it a big agency or a small agency, it doesn't matter who they are, they find a way to welcome each new entrant and support them to grow in this industry. That's the beauty about what we do.
Yeah. Would you have any numbers that illustrate for the growth? The instance of for instance, like, how the size of the Indian event industry has changed in the last decade, let's say.
I think one of the inflection points that everyone looks at, what was it before COVID? What was it after COVID? Okay, I'd say before COVID, the event industry was probably somewhere around 50,000 crores to 80,000 crores. Okay, this I'm taking in weddings, I'm taking it exhibitions, I'm taking in events, I'm taking in mice, and I'm also taking in all the other launches and television concerts, etc. that happen. Some sporting events too, in terms of the event space. Post COVID, I will tell you very confidently, it's at least a 500,000 to 600,000 crore industry. If I look at sports, I look at weddings, if I look at the corporate events, if you look at the concert business that has grown in the last 1-2 years, literally, and it's been phenomenal. If you look at any ticketed event, it's sold out even before you can blink an eyelid. And you look at weddings, just the call of the Honorable Prime Minister to do weddings in India. Wedding in India was a campaign that we launched. And that has made weddings happen in India more than ever before. And the large, big kick-ass numbers that come with it. And it's beautiful. So the entire industry has evolved, it has grown, and along with it, the attendant industries like hospitality, hotels, infrastructure companies, talent management, talent creation, all of that has also grown alongside. Designers coming in, artists coming in, the employment being generated, etc. across it. So I would say it's a 600,000 crore industry, maybe even larger than what I'm saying.
You mentioned mice. With India now emerging as one of the global hubs for mice, tourism. What role do you think large-scale events play in attracting business, travelers, and boosting tourism?
I think large-scale events are the fulcrum and must be the drivers of such initiatives. Because large-scale events captivate and capture people's attention first. It allows everyone to galvanize their work, their facilities, their services, and a lot of attention, PR, publicity, etc. is galvanized around these large events. We've had experiences in that space, so I can talk about it. When we've done such large events, what has happened is that it changes the course of every other industry around it. So in 2016, we did the Global Citizen Festival. For the Global Citizen Festival, we started with Coldplay. So Coldplay was performing, Jay-Z, Demi Lovato, Vamps, you had A.R. Rahman, you had Mr. Bachchan, you had Farhan Akhtar, you had Shankar Ehsaan Loy, Salim Sulaiman, Arijit Singh. It opened with Arijit Singh, and it just went on and on and on. You had stars like Shah Rukh Khan, Sachin Tendulkar, you had Sonam Kapoor, you had Arjun Kapoor, you had Parniti Chopra. Different talent came out there to be able to support it and to mark their presence on stage, to show their commitment to the cause, etc. What did Global Citizen do? It galvanized attention on Maharashtra. It galvanized attention on what India is doing regarding climate change and the UN Sustainable Development Goals. It galvanized attention on people flying in from across the country to attend Global Citizen in Mumbai, where we had something like 80,000 people that attended it. I dare say at least about 30,000 of them were not from the city. They'd come in from across outside the city. So imagine what it does to hotels. Imagine what it does to ground transportation, the car rental services, the Ubers, the Airbnbs, the hotels, everything just got a massive boost. Now, if you look at that as an example, that suddenly becomes something that a Geo Convention Center, a Geo Gardens, a Nesco in Mumbai alone have found bearings on that. On the back of Global Citizen, Justin Bieber happened in India. A Lollapalooza has happened. And each of these growths has led to today a Coldplay series being held in India and completely sold out. Sold out multiple times over for it to be, for the concert and the organizers to extend the number of days of the concert. So change has happened, and that change will get defined and get identified only around large investments, large events, and large initiatives like this.
You mentioned job creation. Would you have any numbers to tell us, how many jobs has it created in this segment? Or even like how much does mice contribute to India's GDP, perhaps?
I won't just say mice alone. I'd say, yeah, it's a holistic sector. I think we're looking at about at least 10 million jobs just in this sector, if not more. Okay, I'm saying it's 10 million. I would normally say it's about 12 to 15 million, but 10 million is a certainty. And where does it go? That helper who's serving in a restaurant and a hotel, one. The attendant who's attending the cook, the person purchasing, the artist who is performing as a baiji either at the gurdwara or at a wedding, or the artist who's performing at the welcoming of the guests at the reception or the entrance of the venue, to the biggest artists who are performing on stage, to the biggest chefs, to the biggest hotels, to the biggest airlines, everything. And what happens with it? Along with this, the retail sector grows because people are coming to a city, they will go shopping, they will go sightseeing, they will use cars, they will use restaurants, they will use the best of facilities. Retail therapy is part of what we do as a life and living. And that suddenly moves from their city to another city. A lot of these kind of initiatives happen around MICE tourism. So you can't say it starts here and ends here. It can start almost anywhere, and it is endless. So the number of jobs and people being employed across the sector is at least about 12 million now. Two is it's across the board. People who have never been to school and people who completed double MBAs are also part of this sector. People who've learned music on their own, to people who've learned in Berkeley College of Music, are part of this sector, or they are part of gurdwaras and gurukuls, etc., in their own artist segment, etc. Now you look at it and you see what is it contributing in terms of the economy. The Union Minister, Mr. Shekhawat, was talking about it, and he recently identified it as it is almost 20 to 25% of the economy. The impact of tourism, MICE events on the economy is almost 20 to 25%. And that's a large segment, and it's growing. He wants it to be the largest segment of the economy, more than manufacturing, more than IT, more than anything else. And that generally is the Honorable Prime Minister's vision too. So I think we are on our path to get there. What is happening with MICE sector is it has got adrenaline at the present moment. When weddings are doing well, we're talking about wedding tourism. We're talking about film tourism. Now we're talking about a concert economy. Okay? And at times I remember speaking about wedonomics, the economics of weddings. Now, if you look at each of these, we're talking business. We're talking about what is the impact in the economy. And if this is the kind of impact, there's every reason why the government needs to provide infrastructure for this sector. It needs to provide certification in universities and schools, etc., etc. We need to penetrate in terms of education, our learning, SOPs, how to improve licensing across the cities, how to improve music licensing, how do you improve various other facilities for ease of doing business. I think all of that is becoming important. If we've got to grow, these facets have also got to be attended to. And if we attend to all of that, the sky is the limit.
If you can expand that on a little, how, do India's policies, that we have, are you happy with the current policies that are there? Do they support the infrastructure and the large scale event tourism sector? And what improvements would you like to see in case, you feel there's something which is short there?
I think the sector has got more attention in the last 10 years than it received previously. So I shouldn't be complaining about what is the government doing, it's not doing enough, etc., etc. We were in really bad state till I'd say almost about 2012, 2014. It's begun to improve a lot more since around 2016, 18, 2020, etc., etc. And it's not one political party, I'm going to say so. I think it's all the political parties, all the governments across India, all state governments and the central government, all have galvanized attention on it. It may have started with the central government under Prime Minister Modi's regime, but every other government, irrespective of political parties and political leanings, have picked up the pieces and picked up the opportunity and responded in a positive manner, which is why you're seeing that kind of growth. The second part is this. I think ease of doing business, licensing. Every time I do an event, do I require to go and take permission from the police, from fire brigade, from BMC or municipal corporation, for various reasons, from food and beverage to alcohol serving to something else here to something else there? Using of generators requires a PWD clearance, etc., etc., and it goes on. And then environment ministry clearance. As many ministries as you have, that many clearances they seem to want to implement. Why can't we have a single window clearance? One. Two, why can't we have a facilitation cell that does this literally on the spot? So your license is taken for granted and stopped only if there's something wrong. We should not be running around for licenses till the nth hour. Can you decide that you want to do an event today morning and do the event in the evening? If you have to run around for permissions, you can't do that. It even takes a week and maybe 15 days. So all of that kind of stuff, your single window clearances will make a big difference. Having venues that are pre-licensed. So they already have their licenses. Only in rare scenarios you require to step out. So that's one. Infrastructure venues. I mean, you have very often concerts being built. You're building from ground up. You're building from ground up. That means you're leveling the ground. You have to build toilets. You have to build your compound walls, literally. You have to build the barricading. You've got to build each and every aspect. Then bring in electricity to that place. There's no substation there of electricity. So you've got to bring in your generators. And you don't get generators that are silent. You don't get generators too easily that are environmentally friendly. So all of those challenges also come in there. Now imagine if you're able to provide this infrastructure. We need more geo-convention centers. We need more NESCOs. We need more Bharat Mandapams and Indira Gandhi stadiums. And even when you look at these stadiums, most often they're blocked for sports and cricket. They're not provided for multi-service, multi-use, multi-purposes. So consequently, you're stuck. Every time you got to go and get special permission, special influence you got to use, you have to have those relationships on board to be able to get it. And why should that be? It should happen as normal part of the course. And these are things that we need to do and implement. One. Two, when people are flying into the country for performance or attending a conference, corporates, how easy are we making it for them, be it with regard to their visas, be it with regard to cargo coming in, permissions, all of those routines, etc., etc. That requires to be eased out. Finally, in cities where infrastructure is what it is, and the roads are what they are, and the traffic is insane, how can you start an event at 8 o'clock in the evening or 7 o'clock in the evening? Because people can't even reach there, so they reach only at 8 o'clock. And the permitted sound limit is 10 o'clock. How can it function? A 2-hour event, you're going to get so many people together for 2 hours or 1.5 hour, 1 hour. That's the time that they'll manage to get. So these are things that require to be addressed, attended to, and sorted. Similarly with music licenses, if you look at the multiple departments and multiple copyright bodies and associations that exist around the space, why can't it be one single window and one fee that works? Why does it have to be constantly varied as per each one's whims and fancies? That liberty has to go away. It has to become predictable. It has to become economical, and it has to become something that you can do very easily so that nobody requires to break the law. Everyone requires to function within it, and we all are happy. So that's really where I'd say a lot has to be done. I think the government also requires to create funds, create facilities whereby it can sponsor events, sponsor unique events to bring them from across the world to India. Many of these conventions, many of these conferences, maybe even artists, etc., who come in, large artists who are going to influence the economy in a large way, should be subsidized. Look at Taylor Swift, look at Coldplay. They've been subsidized in cities like Singapore, Thailand, Australia, etc., etc. I mean, across the world. So it really encourages such activity. It encourages events, it encourages entertainment, it encourages culture. And at the same time, it recognizes the fact that the economy is benefiting. And because it's an economic activity, governments are supporting it and proposing it. And this economic activity of the events business, of the MICE business, of the tourism business needs to get captured, because in capturing that, we will force governments or encourage governments to support it and support the sector to grow.
From a numbers perspective, how much investment would you say would be needed to make India more competitive in this event tourism space?
I wouldn't really hazard a guess, but I think even if we started with something like a 70,000 crore, 100,000 crores to start with in infrastructure, etc., I think if the government puts out X amount of money, the private sector will respond in the same manner. And you will get private and government partnerships happening across the country. I'm not saying the government should do this alone. I'm very clear that the private sector needs to become part of it and needs to also invest along with the government in order to create professional, larger than life, long-term infrastructure for the country.
We've also seen, how technology is redefining experiences. Now you have AI-driven personalization and virtual events. And how do you think technology is going to help us shape the future of event management?
I think more than people are too concerned about losing jobs. I think the best thing about AI, it makes us focus on what we as human beings need to do best. One. Two, it'll allow us to work faster. It'll allow us to work better. It'll allow us to cover all bases a lot more easily than ever before. And we'll be able to do that in seconds and minutes. Okay? You can check almost anything and everything without too much effort with AI. So really, one of my biggest dangers, it might even make us lazy. Okay? But I think it's going to be our new adrenaline. It's going to allow us to do better, faster, and I think at a more economical cost. So sometimes you're looking at a pitch to a client, or you have an idea in your own head. You can talk to AI, and AI will design it for you, give you various things, etc., etc. Of course, you are free to add your own value to it, progress forward. But within seconds, within minutes, you're in a position to be able to say, this works for me, this doesn't work for me. And that becomes the basis for you to brief your team, or brief the creative team, or brief the organizing team. This is where we need to go. And I think that's very important, that you are able to process your thoughts and process your ideas as fast as AI allows you to do. So it is up to us how we benefit from AI and take it forward. I think the benefits are going to be huge. And when you talk about technology, if you look at the Coldplay concert, I don't know whether you managed to get there, but even if you watch it on a streaming platform, I think JioStar or JioCinema is streaming it, you will see that everyone out there had a light. Everyone, they didn't have to use their mobile phones to show that they're there. Everyone had a band, they call them the Xylo bands. The Xylo bands were operated by the Coldplay technicians. So every band was working on a frequency which they controlled to make it a heart, to make it two hearts, to give it different colors, and engulf the entire stadium, where the entire stadium was part of the same story. And everyone was, wherever you were seated, wherever you were standing, you became part of the Coldplay concert. So these interactive kind of elements, the enhancement of experiences that technology is allowing you to do, is phenomenal, and we never had that before. Today, it is something that is expected, and the consumer, the audience, the guest wants that. They look forward to that. So you look at various possibilities, and technology is defining what we do, what we can do, and it's allowing us to dream big and achieve big.
From a market opportunity perspective, what is the projected growth of Indian event industry in the next 5 to 10 years?
If I wanted to be safe, I'd say it'll grow a little faster than the economy itself will grow. Okay. But I think 10% to 15% growth is expected. Whether that growth gets concentrated in the few big players or whether it gets spread across the entire spectrum is a question. I think it'll get spread across the entire spectrum because everyone is going to benefit. The event industry has a lot of human capital that requires to be utilized. And because of that, there'll be that much more spread that will happen as a consequence of that. It won't get concentrated in in the hands of few big players. And I think that's good for the economy.
So Wizcraft has built an iconic legacy. What have been your key leadership lessons and what's next for you and Wizcraft?
I think our leadership lessons are look at the future, set a vision that it's not only about yourself. It must be about those around you, and it must be for the country, the world, and humanity itself. I think if you have that as part of your vision and who you want to impact and who you want to influence and be part of the story, I think that's the starting point for Wizcraft. So anything we've tried to do, we've always been concerned about the world, and that's what made a difference for us. 2 is it's about collaboration. The more you're able to collaborate, be it locally, be it tangentially, be it across geographies, borders, etc., the more efficient, the more impactful you will be, and you will always have the best. So that's one. And if you are working with the best, you will always be the best. I don't even think there's a doubt on that. So that's the second major lesson. 3rd is never stop learning. Every day, every moment is an opportunity to learn. And I think Wizcraft is what it is and continues to be what it is as a leader of this entire industry is because we're constantly learning. We're learning from our collaborators, we're learning from our team, we're learning from our competition, and we're learning from those who are living in and working in different geographies. So if you keep learning, and some of the biggest learnings I've had genuinely have come from the youngest. So don't disconnect yourself from those who are young, who are just coming into the business, because they're the brightest that you'll ever find, and they're the most entrepreneurial that you'll ever be able to see, and you're catching them at their best, full of ideas, full of opportunity. And if you believe that you have a chance to mentor some of them, don't ever lose that opportunity. That's your gift for the future. So I think some of these aspects that I would say, there are lots of lessons that one needs to progress forward: planning, strategy, human capital, regular business lessons. But I think whatever you do, look at mankind, look at your country, look at what you can do for society, because you're not alone. The moment you care about others, the others will care about you.
That's wonderful. Sabbas, it has been an incredible conversation. Your insight into the industry's evolution, its impact on tourism, policies, and a need for a stronger, infrastructure and setup, is definitely something which we need to really think about and work upon. Thank you so much for being part of T3's podcast series, Bolder Voices, Better Insights. And to our listeners, if you've enjoyed this episode, please do not forget to subscribe and stay tuned for more conversations with the industry leaders. Until next time, keep exploring, keep innovating. Sabbas, I have an additional question. If we have time, maybe we can stitch that in. That was about, when we're talking about infrastructure, Diljit Dosanjh, came up and said that, when he compared our infrastructure in the country to, what has been made available to him overseas. So he said, I'm not going to do another show here till we improve upon the infrastructure. What is your, insider feedback into that?
I'd say he's absolutely correct. We don't have the right infrastructure. We don't have the right attitude to many of these things. I mean, imagine when you're building an infrastructure right from base up. Go on a ground, find the pebbles, find the holes. Maybe there's a snake coming out from there. There's rodents out there, etc., etc. And you're building it from scratch. The roads leading to that ground are not adequate. They're not tarred. They're not paved. There's no discipline. The lighting of the roads don't exist sometimes. And I'm talking basics. I'm not saying, oh, the electricity is not there. Look at this, look at that. Now, when you look at venues abroad, when you proper venues, I wouldn't say abroad. You look at a Geo Convention Center. You look at a Geo Garden. You look at the DY Patil, etc., etc. Many of these places that have infrastructure, you will find that they've got turnstiles. So who's coming in is monitored. Somebody cannot just come in and walk in with 10 people. Oh, they're with me. They're coming in, with me. No. You calculate and calibrate everybody. Everyone is accounted for. 2, you have to have a venue with enough lanes and roads leading to that place. How can you have the clogging of roads that we have? How can you go and disturb an entire city when you're doing an event? Okay? Not acceptable. Okay? People are going to protest. People are going, and the consumer who's coming to the event is also going to say, is this the experience I really want to go through? I'm spending 3.5 hours on the road for a 1.5 hour concert. Not fair to anybody. So infrastructure is important. And then security, looking at barricades that exist. You're always putting up temporary barricades. Why can't they be of a permanent nature? So it secures artists, it secures people. And the artists very often are not bothered about their own security only. They're concerned about the public security, the people's security. And if that is not in order, everyone feels uncomfortable. I'm on stage. If you heard Chris Martin during his concert, he would say, those of you in the front, are you looked after? Have you been hydrated? Have you got water? Have you got this? Have you got that? And very often, organizers don't attend to many of these things. I remember when we were doing the Michael Jackson concert in 1996, years ago, we had water canisters in the front. So we'd actually spray people with water so that they were lasting out for so many hours waiting for Michael to come in, etc. They wouldn't faint. They'd get water to drink, etc. And that was in 1996. We haven't grown too much more since then. And that's what's bad. How are you moving in and out, etc. Toilet facilities, the quality of toilet facilities, all of those things. And I think infrastructure needs to exist. Infrastructure is a minimum deliverable of governments, of cities, and of a government-private sector partnership. So you need that to be able to grow and be a developed economy.
Thank you so much. It has been lovely, being in conversation with you. And I'll connect offline for, other chats. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you to your team for being patient and adjusting their schedule for me. Thank you.